A warm welcome to this week's edition of the Sports Show, and we're talking about running and athletic and cycling and keeping fit in general today. On my left, I have three esteemed young guests from our community who I'm going to introduce very shortly. What we're going to talk about today is charity and using sports as a means and method for raising much needed funds for charity and vulnerable people all across the planet. To my left here, I have Harun Rashid. Welcome to the Sports Show. Thank you very much. And in the middle here, we have our star cyclist and runner and all-round charity good body, Rashid Ali. And wa alaikum salam. And to my left here, we have no introductions needed at all. Abdal Ahmed himself. Wa alaikum salam. And we're going to talk about some exciting upcoming events that are taking place within the community as well, but something which we as a unit, all four of us in the studio here, are participating in during the new year. Now in 2017, we're going to kick off the end of January, but all four of us actually, we're part of a somewhat larger team who will be traveling to Morocco and participating in the Marrakech Half Marathon. Now some of you who know myself and Abdal would know that we have been running for a number of years. I've completed a number of marathons. Abdal and I have run together for various charities and charitable causes over the course of the last few years. And we decided to join Muslim charity, a local-based charity, but also a charity which we will find out a little bit more during the course of this program. We decided to join them on a very venerable cause to raise money for street children, and training is already in process. There's a lot of banter. We've got our group catch-ups in place already, and preparations are well underway. It's going to be a very exciting trip, and this is what we're going to talk about here today. So Harun, I'm going to turn to you first of all and ask you, can you tell us a little bit about Muslim Charity as an organization, how long ago it was formed and what you do?
Well, Muslim Charity was formed about 16 years ago. And it really started, like most charities do, from volunteers like you guys, like guys in the community. And we started off with projects in Pakistan. So we started building hospitals in Pakistan. And now, alhamdulillah, we're in about 17 different countries, various different projects from vulnerable children, water projects, maternal health projects, and also especially the emergency relief things that happen now. Syria's in the news now, the Rohingya, etc. So we respond to those things very, very quickly as well.
So whatever circumstances are prevalent at the time, where there's an emergency and a need, you will focus and concentrate on that.
Absolutely.
As and when required.
Absolutely. So we've got a very, very good record of responding to emergencies. So if it's earthquakes, for example, in Haiti, or if there's floods in Asia, or the refugee crisis, for example, recently, with people fleeing the war-torn countries in the Middle East. So we've got an extensive program in Lebanon, in Greece, in Turkey. So yeah, I mean, we respond to those sort of disasters very, very quick.
Rashid, you've got a supremely interesting role with Muslim Charity as well. So you manage and coordinate all the, should we say, volunteers?
Volunteers, yes.
It must be quite an interesting role for you.
It is. It is. I get to meet all different kind of people, various people from various walks of life, and get them to volunteer and do some charity work. And then I set up some challenges for them. In the meantime, I also provide free training for them, like cycling and running. Many other activities. If someone doesn't want to do regular cycling, regular running, we do one-off like skydiving. They could do trekking. So there's many activities that are organised. On
the basis of your role, Rashid, how important is it for Muslim Charity to have involvement and contribution from volunteers?
It's very one of the key thing about charity work is the volunteers. If you don't have a good team of volunteers, you would struggle. So volunteers are the key for charity work.
Coming up to Abdal now as well, I'm really excited to announce that myself and Abdal will actually be participating in the Marrakech Half Marathon in 2017. We're a competitive bunch. I am slightly faster than him, even though I am older than him as well, and we're training quite hard as well. Although he does give the impression that he's not, we've received intelligence otherwise. What made you choose to run with me again come January for Muslim charity?
You know, running for charity is always it's an honor. It's not, you know, something that we do just because we enjoy it, but it's an honor to run for charity and raise money for a very good cause, for the street project in Bangladesh. And obviously, running with you is just, you know, the ultimate challenge to beat you. So it was a little bit of challenge there, me and Emdad, and a couple of other runners. Shakil was a very good runner as well. So we'll see who crosses the finish line first.
And the cause, I think both of us got really attracted towards the cause. When we spoke to Harun and Rash regarding the cause, it touched the God, being fathers ourselves of young children as well. And congratulations to you on the birth of another baby boy.
Thank you.
For you and the family as well. But that must have touched a chord with yourself. It definitely did with me, thinking that we're running for a cause which is supporting street children. This is a concept which is alien to us, almost alien to us. We can't say that even in a country, a superpower country like England and London, that we don't have such poverty, but it is almost alien to us. That must have been significant for you.
Most definitely, most definitely. We've done a lot of chat. We work with kids here in the UK, but when we hear about the stories of the kids around the world who are suffering, it's nothing compared to some of the kids that we work with in the UK, even though they're serious cases. And then when you approached me, and we've done lots of running, lots of events for you know, children in Syria, children in Gaza, children all over. But I've never actually done anything for kids in Bangladesh, our home country. So that's the kind of thing that attracted me the most, to give something back to our children, our sons and daughters in Bangladesh.
Great. Harun, coming back to you now as well. How did this come about, the Marrakech Half Marathon? Are we going to be running as a team for Muslim charity? Will we be joining other people there? Will it be a public event?
Well, the Marrakech run is an international event, so there'll be several thousands of people there, not just locally, but like I said, internationally as well. And there's very, very competitive international runners that will be there as well. So it's a bit very much like our sort of marathon, where you have the professionals there as well, and you have all the teams there, and you have local people raising money for charity. So it's an international event, and it is absolutely huge.
And Rashid, we have quite a large team travelling, hopefully at the end of January, and we're going there for a few days. Do you have anything else planned in terms of, is it just for the team to go out there and have a run or come back, or have you planned anything else for the team? I mean, we're going to a foreign country. Some of us have been to Marrakech, but majority of the team travelling have never visited. There's a lot of historical sites there and a lot of things to see as well. Have you any plans in place to accommodate these needs?
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, for this trip, obviously we're going to go on a 3-day trip. We're going to go on a Friday. On Saturday, we'll go and have a little tour of Atlas Mountain. Sunday will be the actual run, and then Monday we fly back. But for the future, for this team, thinking of organising I've got a few more activities that I would like everyone to participate. Maybe we're thinking of picking Bangladesh for an event, next challenge, next year, inshallah, for all of us. Hopefully we can all participate in that one.
Abdal, what's your ideal training regime?
At the moment, it's very low with the new one coming along. But let's not get mistaken here. It's a half marathon. It's not just little 5K here. So you need to really train for it and prep your body for it. So we were speaking earlier on to Rashid and I was saying, like, I've just started running again after a little bit of an injury. So you need to be training at least 2-3 times a week because you are running 13 miles. And in the climate of Morocco, January is not the hottest season, but you still be in the early 20s, mid 20s. So you need to prepare for that because, again, you don't want to just go out there and put yourself at risk as well because you go in there to raise money and you want to achieve the goal that you've set out.
Harun, tell us about the Street Children Project. So people will be fundraising to help support needy street children and possibly their parents. What will this support entail?
Well, just to give you a little bit of background on street children, it's a very strange phenomenon. Even when I started working for the charity and I got to know a little bit more, it's two words in the dictionary that you'd never put together, street and children. It just doesn't sit very well. But with Bangladesh itself, it has over 500,000 street kids in Dhaka alone. Forget about the rest of the country. And Dhaka acts as a central hub point, if you like, where all the children come and end up either in all the entry points. So you get them at Komlapur station, which is like Victoria Station, if you like, where all the main trains come into. Shodorghat, which is like the main ferry terminal and the bus terminal. So that's where the main kids come. And there's several reasons why the children come here. One of them, which is very, very sad, is where they get abandoned by their parents, by their families. Sometimes they're sitting on trains because of poverty, or for whatever reason, parents are leaving their children on trains. So when they're coming into Komlapur station, you get kids just wandering around thinking, where are their parents? They're crying, etc. So those are the abandoned children. Some children are there for work. They've got their families in villages scattered around Bangladesh, so they're working for a living as young as 5. And some, unfortunately, which is the most tragic element of it, especially the girls as well, they're trafficked. So either they're trafficked into the very dark elements of Bangladesh, of Dhaka, or some of them are trafficked into slave trade. So that's the general problem. Now, that's the actual problem. The interventions that we have, it's threefold. First, we have our outreach workers on those entry points, continuously there. Every evening they're out there, they're talking to children, they're bumping into kids that have just arrived, so they've managed to rescue them, as an initial point. And that's the ultimate goal, to try and capture them before they get integrated into the sort of street life. And we have a very, very good track record. I mean, last 2 years we've rescued over 1,000 kids. And out of the 1,000, 20% of them we managed to reintegrate back into their family life. So we start a search, we find their parents, and if it's safe, we reintegrate them back. So we have those outreach workers. And even I had a very naive idea that, even when I went to Bangladesh, I thought, I'll just get the biggest coach possible and I'll drag all these kids in and we'll rescue all of them. But the problem is that they have major trust issues with adults. So if you can imagine yourself, if your parents have abandoned you, you're the most trusted people in your own life, how would you have any trust with another adult in your life? So when our outreach workers go there and say, oh, Baba, we're going to give you a home and food and shelter, as soon as they hear that, they're running a mile. They think you're going to kidnap them or do something horrible to them. So again, like our outreach workers here with youth work and whatnot, it takes months and months and months to develop the trust with the young people. So that's the first element. Then we have an informal school, which is based on the ferry terminal. And again, that's a way of engaging young people, to give them some food, and to especially keep track of the kids that we're still trying to build trust with. And obviously the school element in terms of basic education as well. So those are the two elements. And the third element is obviously when we actually rescue them, we have a shelter in Dhaka, which is about to build our second one now. So in that shelter, they have all the protection, they have the food. We start the sort of psychosocial element of it in terms of listening to their story. It's a very complex process. And some of these kids are obviously running away from abuse and whatnot. They have harrowing stories. So that's the shelter. And what we do, we keep these kids for between maximum 6 to 8 weeks. If we can't find their parents within that, then they are actually put into a permanent home somewhere within the network that we have. So that's the journey that a street child will get. But it's, again, like when you go out there and when you see it, the phenomena is incredible. Even when I went out there in April, and I was saying to my team that I need to see it for my eyes. I don't want to see it at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock when they're all scattered about. So we got up at 3 a.m. in the morning, and we went to the actual ferry terminals and whatnot. And honestly, it's an image that I can't take out of my mind. It's a sea of children on the street, literally.
Yeah. And just to add to that, I remember I've been lucky enough to go to Bangladesh a number of times to play football, and I remember going to the train station late at night to get the train back across and seeing kids there. This is, you're looking at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning, you're seeing not 1, 2, you're seeing groups of kids huddling around, and
this is 1 or 2 in the morning.
Yeah. So, and this is, a few years ago, and I was quite, as a young guy playing football out there, thinking, like, what's happening here? I wasn't aware. And these are some reason why, again, I chose to run for this charity and for this specific project, because it opens your eyes, because you see it, and then when you come back now, when you hear the stories, you actually put the two together and you think, actually, these kids are there for a reason. They're not just there hanging around. They're there because they've got nothing else to do, or nowhere else to go, and this is their shelter, and this is the only safety they have.
So in your opinion, Abdal, is sport a good medium to A, raise much needed funds, to boost the charities and the work they do, and B, to highlight these issues that we've discussed here?
Of course it is, and this is an ideal example of that. You've got a group of 10 people running the half marathon, which is not easy. Anyone that runs will know half marathon is not easy. You have to prep yourself for it. At the same time, doing some fundraising with it. So there's a number of elements there. You're raising money, you're keeping yourself fit, and it does bring people together. There's people going to be running together. Obviously, I know you, I know Shaquille, but there's people that are running that we don't know, and we'll get to know them across the journey that we're going to take until January.
Definitely.
Very, very depressing for what we've just heard now. Just going to change subject a little bit to something a bit more uplifting. I'm going to turn to Rashid and talk to you about your cycling. So you're obviously a cycling advocate for anybody who knows anything about you. And you're a proficient cyclist. And not only that as well, you don't just cycle for fun and leisure as well. You do it as a sport. You also train groups. You've got an elite group of cyclists who you take out, but you've also got beginners as well. Yes, and I just love watching how you interact with them, teach them as well. Yes, sure. But you've got a major challenge coming up in 2017. Yes. Would you like to tell us a little bit about this?
Yes, I actually, my background from running, and all this started actually from charity. So I owe charity big, I've never done sports till I was 38. I volunteered to run for a charity, and so when I found out I won out of 500 people. I won a race, and then I found out I was pretty good at running. Started running for clubs and stuff. So then I thought, well, I've got an ability Allah's given me. Let me make a use out of it. So I started running for various charities for the last 4 years, and then about 2 years ago there was this challenge. These brothers came to me and said, we've organised a bike ride from Cambridge to London. Why don't you join us? I said, I can't cycle. And they said, look, come and give it a try. See what you can do. So I turned up with one of my old bikes, 20-year-old bike, and they looked at it and they said, Rashid, you're going to struggle with this. So I went and bought another bike, joined them, did that Cambridge ride, and I loved it. We did a midnight ride from Cambridge to London. There was about 40 of us. We did Isha prayer at the Cambridge Park and set off, and we got to East London Masjid at Fajr time. But
how many hours was that?
Probably, I think it was, I can't remember now, about 8 hours altogether.
Okay. With rest breaks in between and all that. Okay, that's very significant.
But and I found out I was pretty good at that as well. Bearing in mind, the only thing I needed to get used to is just sitting on the saddle. And then that was it. I got into bikes and started emptying my bank account on bikes now. So then I started joining the clubs, and we set up a club, and then I found out a lot of our brothers want to get into cycling but don't know where to start off. So I started training them for small rides, small challenges, 20 miles, 30 miles, and then about 3 months ago we did Europe tour. There was 20 of us went and did Luxembourg, Basel, Switzerland in 3 days, and so we raised like £59,000 for Gaza, Syrian refugees. So it's a very good, and you build a really good brotherhood because you train like months and months,
and then you travel together.
You're in a strange land. You're eating together. You stop middle of nowhere, doing your salah together.
Do you stay as a close-knit group whilst you're cycling, or do you have some people who get hyper and just zoom off?
Well, you do. You get all different, abilities as well.
Do you plan your breaks? Right, we're going to stop there and.
Yes.
Because I'm thinking to myself, if I did a long distance cycle, first of all, I'll be worried about the safety side because I've never done a long distance one. Yeah. For me, at the moment, 10k every day, rain or shine.
Sure.
And number two would be, if somebody entrusted me with information and said, right, we will stop at this point in Basel, I wouldn't have a clue.
Yeah. So what happens is we plan the route months in advance, and we actually go through the whole route on Google Map, on Street View, actually see every single, so we know exactly where we're going to stop, if it's a restaurant or petrol station, whatever it is. And we have a support vehicle all the time with us that carries all our food, our bags, equipments, extra equipments. And then we go in groups. We don't all 40 go together and plug up the roads and stuff. So we go in small groups. So over the training in months prior to that, we assess the abilities of all the groups and then put them in groups. And even then, when you do that, and when you're doing such a long journey, because when we're doing training, we might be doing 40 miles, 50 miles, but we don't do it back to back 100 miles.
Right.
So the ability again changes.
Yes, it does.
So according to the, so there'll be a group leader, one will be leader and there'll be a sweeper, and there'll be a group of 10 in between. And then if they're struggling, we swap them around at the break points. And it's all, we try to keep it as safe as possible, and accidents still can happen. So far it's been good. You know, the preparations, it takes months and months of preparation. Sometimes you just think, you know, you can just jump on a cycle and just do these things, especially when you're going abroad. Sorry, going back to your question about the special challenge I'm doing. Yes, I'm going to, inshallah, try to cycle from London to Hajj 2017.
Amazing.
It's the biggest challenge I've ever going to be facing, I think. It's a 5,700 kilometer journey.
So what I wanted to do, just for viewers to be acquainted with Bob, Rashid is going to travel from London to Saudi Arabia, Makkah, Medina, and he's going to travel by bike. He will have, from my discussion with him, he will have a few people who may join him on parts of the journey just to keep him company, but he is doing this on a solo. And I wanted to be the first one. I wanted to have the honor of being the first one to actually announce this. And I'm hoping also that Rash will actually do another standalone slot on the sports show as well, where we will discuss this further in depth. So this must be one of the most, well, one of the biggest challenges of your life.
Definitely, and it'd be a memorable one. You know, I'm looking so forward to doing it, and make dua that I complete it, because I have a limited amount of time, because I want to perform Hajj as well.
Of course you do.
So I'm leaving after a couple of days after Ramadan, which is probably 28th of June. Ramadan finishes. And I've got to make it there by 28th of August. So I have 8 weeks window. I've got to, so every day I've got to do 120 kilometers approximately.
Ooh, inshallah, we'll make dua for you as well, and we're confident that you will pass this with flying colours. I'm not going to ask you too much more on this subject, because I do want to save the contents for this. You know, you've got some amazing things to discuss on this for another show, hopefully, as well. And Abdal, you've heard his pitch now. Is it convinced you to sit in the saddle, should we say?
You know, Rashid's been talking to me for a while about taking up the bike challenge. And you know what, we were just speaking before we came on the show, and I will take up the challenge, maybe on a smaller one first, maybe London to Cambridge or something like that. Definitely. And then maybe I'll get the feel for the bike and get back on it. I used to cycle when I was younger. You know, you cycle all around when you're young, but I haven't been on a bike for a few years, so I'm just worried about the sore back.
Well, definitely. I've got one coming up in April. It's going to be a 70-mile London to Hastings. So maybe you can get ready for that.
And on that basis as well, I'm just coming on to Harun as well. I've been cycling for a while now as well, but Rashid's taken that interest through his work with Muslim Charity and the stuff that he's been doing, and training groups. You know, he's added me to one of the fledgling group, should we say. I'm part of that as well. I haven't joined the group in an actual live cycle because of my schedule, but I take great interest in what they're doing as well. So he's taken my interest to a different level. Though on Christmas Day this year, there is a cycling event taking place on behalf of Muslim Charity. Can you fill us in on that?
Yeah, so the event's called 12 Bridges, and it's really a mixed group of our beginner cyclists that Rashid has been training over the last few months. And they're going to be cycling 40 miles across all the London bridges and landmarks and whatnot. And again, that's for street children as well, the campaign that you guys are running for as well. But again, I mean, like Rashid was saying, it's about raising awareness about fitness, about health, and bikes is a wonderful way to do it. And we were quite surprised, Rashid and I mean, when we put the leaflet up there, we got actually quite a lot of responses from sisters that want a bike as well.
Sure.
And we said, well, more than welcome. So we've alhamdulillah, we've got some sisters that are riding with us. So it's an appeal to all the sisters out there, that if you want to cycle as well, you're more than welcome. Rashid is here and the team's here to support you in terms of training and whatnot. We can even loan you a bike if you want for a little while, just to get yourself comfortable in it. But the idea is that we do this with a view to get people trained and get their fitness levels up so they can do cycle challenges for us and raise money ultimately for charity.
Yeah, sisters, I just got one message for you. With all due respect, with all you participating, it's absolutely wonderful and excellent that you are. But when you're lining up against me and standing or cycling side by side with me, I want you to remember one thing. I am going to be very competitive. There is going to be nothing standing in my way or in my attempts to beat you lot. So you all better get ready to eat some dust, especially when you're lining and standing and sitting and riding alongside me as well. So please keep that in mind, so there's no offense on the day and you don't feel upset when I don't stop and zoom off. Right, coming back to the discussions at hand now. So Harun, just going back to you again.
Sure.
You've got a contingent traveling to Bangladesh and there's some special works taking place. You're taking a delegation, I understand, to
Yes.
Bangladesh to do some work there on the ground.
Yes. So part of our transparency program in Muslim charity, we see that as one of our core principles. So every year we take out donors, well-wishers, volunteers, anybody that really wants to go with us. You don't even need to be a donor. And what we do, we take you to the host country, this one in particular is Bangladesh, and we take you for the purpose to actually see the projects on the ground, how your money's working. Now you guys are running the marathon, there's other people who are cycling and doing all manner of things. And we believe it's important to feed that back to you guys. We want you to go, we want you to ask those questions. We want to, well, we raised £10,000 for this. Did this actually cost 10,000? We want you to go and ask the partners. We want you to go and ask the beneficiaries those important questions. And then for you guys to come back and relay that back to your donors who are giving you £1, £10, £100. You know, it's about confidence and transparency. So I'm taking a group out on the 13th of Jan, inshallah, for 10 days. And this is going to be obviously with our Street Children program in Dhaka. We're going to the extreme north, which is a place called Panchgod, where you had, these are the ex-enclaves. There was a strange phenomena where you had enclaves within Bangladesh that belonged to India and enclaves within India that belonged to Bangladesh. Now both governments obviously didn't want to work with the people there, so there's been no investment in social or economic development at all. So we're going there, we'll put in a preschool. We've got teenage children that have zero literacy rate.
Really?
So we have to build a school where it's almost like nursery, kindergarten, to get them ready to actually go into a government school and a clinic. And we put in one of our first ambulances into Bangladesh. So the volunteers and the participants that go there, we're going to see that in Panchgod. We're going to Cox's Bazar, where we're working with beach children. Now this is very much like Street Children program in Dhaka, but they actually ply their trade on the beach with tourists. So it's the same situation, kids are sleeping on the beach. So again, we want to do some initiatives there. We're going to replicate the model that we have in Dhaka in Cox's Bazar. And then we're going to Bandarban as well. Bandarban is the Chittagong Hill tracks. There you've got, I think, between 13 to 16 indigenous communities. And obviously they obviously look different to everybody in Bangladesh. I mean, they're slightly more oriental features, etc. They have different languages, different customs, etc. So they're a bit isolated from mainstream society. So we do a lot of projects, we're going to initiate a lot of projects in the Bandarban area. And then we're coming down to Sylhet. So Sylhet, we have an orphanage that we support in Sunamganj. We're refurbing the whole orphanage. We have environmental projects in Zokiganj, which is looking at river erosion and how that affects people's lives.
That's a good one. My in-laws are from Zokiganj, so they'll be very pleased.
Maybe we'll
you have my blessing on that front as well.
So Zokiganj, and then we're starting some other new initiatives as well. So there's going to be a maternity project in Balaganj. I know Abdal's from Jagannathpur. We're going to starting a very, very interesting project in Jagannathpur. So I mean that's a bit top secret now, but I'll let you guys know. But it's an amazing program. Not only are you going to see the charity projects, but we want to highlight these countries where a lot of British Bangladeshis or whatever your sort of background is from, people are sometimes scared to go to these countries. And we're saying, listen, it's safe, it's beautiful. There's so much need, and I say we're all British Bangladeshis. We must give something back, whatever it is, and we want to show you that beauty. We want to show you, sometimes we have a very negative image of these countries like Bangladesh. I have this conversation all the time. People say, Bangladesh is corrupt, and I said, if there's 10 people corrupt, there must be 100 people that are honest. right? So why can't we concentrate on the honest, good people
Yes.
that need the help rather than the one or two bad guys, you know? So I will appeal out to everybody that if you want to go get in touch with Emdad or get in touch with LB24, the more the merrier. And we really, really want to highlight our programs and the good work that we're doing in Bangladesh.
Before the switch line gets jammed, I just want to say it was a figure of speech. Abdal is actually my long lost cousin from Biani Bazaar. So please
Correct.
put your hang up. If you're already starting to call, please hang up and stop your emails and your threats to me. It was a figure of speech. Going back to Rashid, we've been volunteering, all of us here, we've got volunteering backgrounds. It's a fascinating subject. How, when it comes to a charity like Muslim charity, obviously you've just touched on the fact that there's a huge reliance on the goodwill of volunteers as well. How can charities, what can charities do to engage with their volunteers? What do they need to do? So someone who's at the forefront of an established charity, which is doing amazing work in various parts of the world, do charities need to value their volunteers? Because sometimes you get, very much a minority, sometimes you do get odd issues or incidents where you have volunteers, for example, they've gone in with goodwill, but they haven't been treated properly, or they haven't been trained properly, or they've been, all manner of things have happened. How important is that for you, as someone who coordinates them?
You know, for me, it's very important. Without volunteers, I couldn't do my job. And this is why I go the extra length. I mean, I spend my weekend training people. I don't get paid for that. And because I want them to feel comfortable, not that I've just signed up to them to go and ride 40 miles and they turn up on the day and, you know, they struggle. So I give my spare time, and not just that, I help them maintain bikes. I even got the charity, convinced the charity to invest some money in them, so the ones that can't afford to get a bike or not sure, I loan them a bike. So it's very important to look after the volunteers, because without them, like yourselves here, if you were all not signing up to run for Marrakech, I would have had to cancel this trip. It's not possible.
Can I just add to that?
Yes,
I think with volunteers, it's an absolute fundamental for all charities, because this is the lifeblood. Not just because the fact that they raise money, and that's a very, very important element of any charity, but the advocacy work that they do as well, in terms of spreading the message, the good message about projects or emergency disasters, or sometimes you get very acute issues as well around the world that maybe is not highlighted. And for example, the Rohingya has only been going on for a few years, but it's an issue that's hundreds of years old. So again, they play a very, very big part in the advocacy side of it as well. And we have a duty of care to actually develop these people. So where Rashid Bhai has all these networks, he has different groups set up across the country as well. And we're not just helping them volunteer. Sometimes this is a stepping stone for them to get into the charity sector. We've supported some of our volunteers to actually get jobs through their own trade, and sometimes we can link them up. So we've got someone who owns a business of some sort, for example, and that person is volunteering with us as well. So they say, guys, I need 5 people, I'm expanding. So we put it out to our volunteers as well. So it's not just a one-way street where they're just giving to the charity. We want to support them as well in their personal development, in their careers as well. And this is what we're developing in Muslim Charity, is an accredited program where people can get actual recognition that they can put on their CVs and get qualifications. And Rashid Bhai, obviously, he's a first aid trainer as well. So that's what we're also trying to do, looking at how we can train these people, how we can make sure that all the risk assessments are there, because we have a duty of care to these guys as well. Just because we want them to raise money, we want everybody to be safe. So all these elements, it's a very, very big responsibility, and we don't take it lightly. And obviously Rashid Bhai dedicating the time. That, you know, volunteers will phone you on the weekend, 11 o'clock, 12. There's no such thing as a 9 to 5. So again, you have to work according to other people's patterns as well.
Abdal, speaking on behalf of you and I as volunteers, he's made some quite important points there.
Definitely.
Would you feel valued as a? I mean, it's a simple case of just feeling valued, isn't it?
It is, and it's, you know, having worked in the charity sector as well, volunteers give up a lot of their time, you know, evening, weekends, and they want to be valued, they want to be appreciated because they're doing it out of their goodwill. So it's important, what Rashid has touched upon, is making them feel welcome, making them feel part of the charity, because you don't want them to come in and, as you said, you do one event and you never see them again. You want them to be part of the ongoing work that the charity does. So I think it's very important that, you know, the connection that you make with the volunteers, especially new volunteers who, you know, 16, 17, who are doing it for the first time. You know, whatever you do for the first time is your first impression, and if you don't hit it right, then you're never going to come back to it. And it's very, very important that our youngsters who are involved in this kind of work, because to take ourselves forward, to move our community, to move, you know, to make change, we have to have young people who are developing. And so volunteering is one of them ways, and it's very important.
Rashid, somebody who's working right in the thick of it, you know, in terms of working within the charity sector, Christmas must be an even busier time for you. You probably can't switch off any day of the year when you think about it.
No, you can't, especially when you've got so many challenges, so many activities going on, and you've got like hundreds of volunteers and people involved in it. So like you're getting calls and people want to know, how's this work, how's this, and what do I do? And so you're constantly actually on the phones, on the net, you know, giving out messages.
So even though it's a bank holiday, for you it's pretty much normal.
Yeah.
Harun, last one for you. On the basis of what you've talked about, taking that, you know, it sounds like you're going to do some amazing work when you go to Bangladesh with that contingent. You've also got plans in the pipelines of possible university students, college students who want to go as a group to European destinations where they can actually deliver aid. Not only are they fundraising as well, but you said it's a wonderful concept. First of all, I should add that. You're not only fundraising, but you're delivering aid, staying in camps, etc., mingling with the needy people. Within guidelines, obviously, and delivering that as well. So you've got plans to do that across Europe as well, in certain locations?
A few weeks ago, I just come back from Greece, part of our Syrian refugee program. And what I've agreed with our partners on the ground there is that I want to take 10 to 15 people out to a couple of camps where we actually stay on the camp. So we take our tents and we take our utensils and whatnot, and we go and stay on the camp. And we initiate a couple of projects. So we raise some money, we take some aid with them as well, whatever the need is, because you know the need assessment changes on a day-to-day basis.
Course.
So whatever the need is at that time. Now obviously it's winter clothing and blankets and whatnot at the moment. In the summertime it might be completely different. So we go there, we do some activities with the children, we paint their school, we set up a little playground, we might do like a little community garden. So it's about engagement and solidarity with the refugees. So I think what we try and do with most of our programs, we can't do it on all of them, is we don't like to just give out aid, you know, like hand to hand. I think there's a very dignity issue there. So what the very good thing that we've done in Greece, for example, is people have vouchers, and depending on the entitlement of that particular family, you know, they take a voucher and then they can come and pick up that goods whenever they want. Right, so we don't put them in the whole line, you know, like you normally see.
It's like the food bank system.
Absolutely,
that's
absolutely,
brilliant.
Very much like that, and that's a model that we replicated with a project that we're doing in Turkey with Syrian refugees as well. So again, you guys will fundraise and we'll send some shipping containers full of food to Turkey, which is on the border of Syria, Rouhani, I believe it is. And again, we give all the refugees a card which entitles them to X amount of food according to their family needs. Now, why should we tell a family that they should have a bottle of oil and a bottle of rice? We shouldn't. They should be able to cook whatever they want. So they go into the warehouse, they have a budget on their card, they swipe their card like they would in a supermarket.
Like a supermarket.
Yeah.
Very dignified as well, Abdal, yeah?
Definitely.
So that's the general idea. Now, it's not possible in every place.
No.
And especially sometimes when you go out, then it's emergency relief, it's different. But where we got the time to actually develop these projects, where we got time to put that dignity back in, you know, Allah's put them in a situation, maybe we might be in that situation one day. Would we want to be queuing up with our families and whatnot, you know, just to receive one blanket, for example? You know, so again, it's looking at that human aspect. Yeah. But going back to your question, bro, we want to take some real people that really want to make a difference. And again, it's part of our engagement program to say to the donors who are raising £1 or £1 million, whatever it is, that you have a direct connection with not just your money, but the journey that your money takes, where it gets delivered, and the beneficiary and what the beneficiary is feeling at the time. So that's the connection that we're trying to make.
Amazing. Abdal, just talking on behalf of the team as well, what can we, you and I, and the rest of the team, as runners, who obviously believe in the work that Muslim Charity is doing, hence we have chosen to associate ourselves with the great works that they're doing, and hence we're running the Marrakech Half Marathon at the end of January. Apart from raising funds, what else could we do to highlight the plight of street children?
It's making people aware of the situations that Harun has mentioned, or of case studies that they've got, and go to the website, speak to Harun, but they've got hundreds of case studies of children who have benefited and children who need the support, who have not had the support because the resources are not there. So apart from, as you said, running and raising the money, it's about raising the awareness and also getting other people to take part as well, because key point that Harun is we need to develop our youngsters, we need to develop people around us, because today we're here, tomorrow we might not be here. We need to make sure that the charity work continues, so the suffering people, because there really will be suffering people when we have gone tomorrow or the next day, so someone needs to take up that role.
It's all about legacy at the end of the day. From what you've heard, I hope you found it very, very interesting. Actually, after completing this show and sitting with my guests here as well, it's given me an even bigger boost. I always knew that I was running for a wonderful cause, but just having spoken to my colleagues here now as well, my fellow runners and the charity workers on my left here now as well, I'm more than convinced that the effort that the small steps should be taking, or the small jog that we're doing, in January, would be the start of something big. If you're watching us right now, and anybody who follows me on Twitter or on Facebook, and even if you don't follow us and you're watching the show now, you yourself can play a part. On our screen, we've got the details and the website of the charity itself. We've also got the link, the team's donation link on the screen as well. Please, please, please try and make a donation. Don't forget to gift it, but also write it down, text it. We've got no excuse when it comes to social media as well. Each and every one of us who have got access, whether they're real or virtual friends, we've got access to hundreds and thousands of people. Please do share this. Remember, we're doing this on a voluntary basis as well. We are paying for our own flights to come out this as well. And do click share on this video. The wider the audience, the more likely it is that we will receive some support for what we're trying to achieve. If you would like to join in the works of Muslim Charity, again, I'm mentioning that the website details are on the screen. Do check the charity out and drop an email or call as well. There's things that are taking place, there's initiatives taking place on an almost weekly basis, definitely on a monthly basis, but frequent activities which are taking place to support and help some of the most vulnerable human beings walking amongst us on this earth as well. That's it from me. Thanks for watching The Sports Show.